Hey, family, and welcome to episode 33 of Critical Sense Making Sessions facilitated by yours truly, Revolutionary Rika. Today's topic is colorism. Today's guest is Erica Cookie Young. She is a Bay Area native who was passionate about her son, little Aiden, and then family and fashion. Erica, tell us a little bit more about who you are and choose one word to describe how you're showing up.
I'm just regular and down to earth, and what you see is what you get. And I'm nice. I'm really nice and kind-hearted. And what'd you say? One word to describe how I'm showing up?
Yep.
Ready.
Ready. Is that like ready for the world? Ready to rumble?
I'm ready. I'm ready to speak about colorism. Okay. And what I've experienced. I can only tell you what I've gone through, what I've experienced, and what I've witnessed. That's it.
Thank you, Erica, for agreeing to be on. And just to be transparent with my viewers, this is my road dog, my other half, my best friend. We've been partners since 87? That's like 34 years, and been sisters. And people like to joke and like to say, oh, they're best friends. But, we have to do the little jabs because this is my sister from another mister. And I'm happy to have her here today just to really talk about colorism. A lot of times, a lot of the conversations that I'm listening in on are talking about it from a standpoint of a darker complected African American. And so today I really wanted to give you all a perspective from a lighter complected African American who is not mixed and who is constantly bombarded with just disrespect and ugly and negative behaviors from the color of her skin, the color of her eyes, and the length of her hair. So today I want to get into that, but first I have an icebreaker question, and it is, if your life was a song title right now, what would it be titled?
I don't know.
I heard you say something.
What do you think, Aiden?
What?
Song title.
The song title.
That describes my life right now.
My son?
That's not a song title.
Oh, come on. And what is it?
I don't know, Rika.
You are my sunshine. He just said your son.
Yeah. So you said the same.
You are my sunshine. You two are silly.
Okay. You know what? Take a little time to think about it. I'll circle back to it later on in the episode. So we're going to kick it off. I would love for you just to start by telling us a little bit about life growing up in the East Bay.
It's hard to answer questions like that because you don't have anything else to compare it to. You know what I mean? Like, it was just regular to me, normal, diverse, a lot of ethnicities, and I have friends of all ethnicities. It was pretty lit. It's pretty fun.
Okay. And so what are some of the types of activities that you do with these friends and stuff like that?
Growing up?
Yes.
Hang out, talk, spend the night at one another's house, sleepovers, hang out at the mall, just normal adolescent behavior.
Okay. And so thinking about today's theme and topic around colorism, I would love for you to define the term colorism for our audience.
You know that I'm nervous.
Oh, it's okay. It's me and you. The audience can't see you. Me, you, and A.
Just say anything.
Anything you feel like to say.
Well, that's right. Be authentic.
Colorism. Repeat it again. What I feel it. Explain what it means to me.
Right.
When other minorities or people of the same race say hurtful things to one another pertaining about the color of their skin or features or background, things like that.
Mhm. Okay. And so, thinking back on your childhood,
Mhm.
how were you impacted by colorism in your academic experiences?
I feel when I started a new school,
Mhm.
and probably during the age of 10 to 12, I started a few different ones. So I'm going back and forth between schools. So I feel like when I would start a new school, I would have to prove who I was or what I was, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
You know, you're nervous anyway because you're starting a new school, but then you have to prove what you are or who you are
Mhm.
to your peers.
Absolutely. It's interesting you say that because I feel like I experienced when I came from San Francisco to Hayward, or even when I went interchanged in schools in San Francisco. Like I think I don't know if that's a cultural thing too. Like
Mhm.
even having to prove like you ain't no punk, so you know what I mean, that type of thing. Um, but also understanding and also witnessing some of what you're talking about. It was like proving that you black. And so, in what ways did they? In what ways were they trying to get you to do that?
I don't think necessarily that they would get me to try to do it. I think that I felt I had to do it. So when I got there, I would have to kind of prove I'm trying to think back to being a 10-year-old. You know, that's the age you are in 5th grade, right?
Yep.
And so
Yep.
that's when I started Tyrell. So
Mhm.
I came from Fremont Unified into Hayward, where Fremont wasn't as diverse as Hayward, especially in 87.
Mhm.
So it was different,
Mhm.
you know, so you had to kind of come in and like try to show that you, like you said, tough, or like you ain't no punk. And so people would assume I was soft because of my skin color.
Mhm.
So that kind of made it difficult. Thank you, Aiden. That kind of made it difficult growing up. I mean, you're 10, right?
That sun team, huh?
So I think that's what formed my hard exterior, is because that's how I try to prove I'm hard, but I'm not. I'm not saying I'm wimpy or anything,
Right.
but I'm not mean. And I'm not
Right.
hard like my exterior says. Everybody says, why are you so mean? Why are you mad? I'm not mad. But I think that's that's that shield I've built up
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
growing up.
I hear you. I hear you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So how did colorism manifest in your experiences with your village? So your family, your friends, the larger community.
Hmm. Well, that's where you first experience it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they think it's just picking fun, being teasing you, but if you start hearing certain terms and things used over and over again as a kid, you believe them, right? Especially when it's coming from your village. So just things they would say, white girl trying to be black. That's things that was said to me at a pivotal time in my adolescent years, like junior high, high school, where I'm already having to, I feel like that's what I'm looked at school. Then you hear it at home too. So it was like, really? White girl trying to be black? So you just laugh it off.
So do you think you were afforded any privilege? Because it seems like you may have been targeted because people think because of that you get afforded certain privileges. So
Mhm.
just thinking in academics as well as in the family, were you afforded any special privileges because of your skin tone?
No, especially not academically. No, I was just another little Black girl in the school system.
Since you bring that up, I thought
Mhm.
about Larissa.
You thought about what?
Larissa.
Oh, mhm.
I would love for you just to share that piece because that's deep too. I think that is another form of colorism.
The
You know,
Latinos
yeah,
meeting the
yeah.
to join the, what was it? To join the,
Instead of BSU, I think
right,
they
you
are.
guys received the blue papers, I think it was, for BSU, and my paper was yellow. And I didn't understand, out of a group of all African American peers of mine, everybody had a blue paper and mine was yellow. So apparently, as we're marked when we enroll in school as an ethnic code, right? By define what you identify as. And I was marked as Latino. My mother didn't do that. Somebody in the office or district made that assumption by looking at me. So that followed me around to what, like 11th grade?
Mhm.
And it would, I mean, and I would laugh it off, but it was kind of offensive.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's just stuff I've had to deal with. And I learned to, like I said, that form that hard exterior, because you learn to not, what I'm gonna do, cry about it. And then kids are mean anyway.
Mhm.
Especially, we don't think about what we're saying. You're a kid, right? So you think, oh, I'm just teasing fun, and then tomorrow I'll say I'm sorry. So I would just form this hard exterior over it, but it did bother me.
Absolutely. So it's interesting you brought that up because I was going to say, do you think, I mean, kids are mimicking what they see the adults doing. We're mimicking what we see in shows and TV, right? And no
Mhm.
one is actually, they tell you not to do this thing, not to do this, but they're constantly doing it. And so that modeling is happening. And so you naturally kind of pick up those habits.
Mhm.
But, um, and then two, I just think about my grandma, like, and some of the stuff she used to say to us and do to us, but it was like trying to grow your skin because they knew the world wasn't going to be nice to you. And
Mhm.
so at least getting you ready and exposed for that, I
Mhm.
took it in a positive way. But um, but both, it could have negative impacts on um, who you are. And you see it too when you look back now. Then you just thought it was normal or that that's what they did. That it was okay. I don't know. That makes sense.
No, it
Okay.
does. And
Go.
Auntie, who really was helpful for me during my transition from to Hayward Unified School District, was Auntie Sheila.
Mhm.
She pretty much got me ready for what could happen, what was going to happen, and what my reaction was going to be.
So tell
And,
us a little bit about that ball of fire.
and that's what I was going to say. You know how that went, and especially then, what was that? 30 years ago, 34 years ago. So she was really fiery, and she just told me they're going to tease you, they're going to try to punk you. And she
Mm,
said, and she used to just tell me, and don't be no punk. Even if you want to cry, you wait till you get home.
mm,
And I didn't understand, because I never had experienced that in my other academic years. So even before the first day of school, she's telling me this. And then you get to school, it's normal, kids looking at you weird, you're the new kid, that's normal. And then just slowly it just started to happen. I mean, you remember, you went to school with me. That's where we met. So you
mm.
know the things that I experienced coming into Tyrell. Why? Why did I experience that? What was the reason? Nobody knew me from a can of paint. So what was it?
Um, okay. You want me to try and have a
I mean,
discussion?
you were there. You were there. So
I'm looking at back at it now. A lot of those girls were projecting onto other people what they felt was wrong with them.
mhm,
So if you were beautiful in their eyes, it was, they despised you because it was something about themselves they didn't like. And we don't know if that was to somebody that was not affirming their identity at home. You know, we talked about it starts in the home.
Mhm.
And so in the formative years, yes, they was picking on your color, but they also was telling you you're beautiful and kissing you and hugging you. Everybody don't get that, right? So
Mhm.
then as they moved through, however they was treated, that modeling that we talked about, which is good, right? But at the same time, some people don't get that, or they get told you ugly, you ain't gonna be shit, you ain't shit, you look like your daddy. You know that line too. And
Mhm.
so I think when I look at it, and for us being so young and I mean really innocent to the, we didn't know what that stuff meant, but it
Mhm.
was being modeled around us. We had to pick it up from somewhere. And then you come in and you start internalizing your own trauma and then projecting that out onto people. And so just from this standpoint today, that's what I see. Then kids being jealous and mad and envious of other kids.
And the person, and thinking back now as a 44-year-old woman and not a 10-year-old girl, the person who was the ringleader in doing it,
Mhm.
she was angry, right? And it was why I didn't live with her, so I don't know what was going on in her world, but she was angry. And so she tried to make 10 girls join her in disliking a person that nobody even knew yet.
Right. And she was advanced. So I'm just saying, I don't know for sure, but you know, that's usually a sign of abuse, that kind of abuse. So it, you know, and then it's that whole idea of lateral violence. I'm going to attack somebody that I feel like is not a threat to me. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Right.
So she's looking at you, she's jealous of you, she envious. So now you are not a threat. So she's going to attack you. And I'm going to get all of them not to like you too and show you my power. But that's that manipulation because somebody manipulates her.
Then it turned into over boys. Like, come on, we're 10.
Then again, let's go back to that trauma, right?
We're
That
10.
abuse
Like, come on.
probably happening. Because that was actually, I think that might have been real. At that point, it wasn't no humping on top of the pants no more. You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean, we were 10. Like,
So we might have been, I'm talking about that person.
right. No, I understand. So, but now, like, thinking back, it was like, come on, boys. We were like kids, real kids.
10, watching Rags to Riches and shit. Oh, excuse
Right.
my language.
Little
I got
shop,
it.
little
Right.
shop.
Exactly. So, and then think about, okay, since we talking about that time, thinking about the colorism in TV at that time and who we saw in
Mhm.
certain roles, and you know, so it was a mix of all of that. You know, feeling envious, like, oh, you know, thinking, you know, I don't know if this is what they're thinking, but my thing could possibly be, you know, you fit that to them,
Mhm.
maybe. I don't know, but just that pop culture plays a big role in conditioning our minds too. And you see what it's doing to these kids now. Is just like, I want like the stuff that's the norm. What is it, side chicks?
Yeah. And that's being glorified and praised. And yeah.
And that's because of trauma. Like shit, ouch. I was a trauma person from that too. I'm just saying,
And
but I didn't go up.
it's all in the music. And it's all in the music, like with the rap genre, right? It's more so they rap about wanting a woman who looks exotic and a yellow bone or this or that, right? So then you're hearing that in songs, so that makes darker complected women angry towards lighter skinned. See, and I'm not telling them to put that in songs, you know, so then it keeps going. That's why it will never end, because keeping us pitted going against each other makes them more money. So it'll never end. That's why you just have to learn to love who you are and accept you're this way. And just, my mother never, I know in some houses probably I've never witnessed it. I've only seen it portrayed on television. So I have to believe it happens somewhere, that in some households, if you have lighter skin, that's praised and it's taught that that's going to get you somewhere, right? My mother never did that. My mother never told me I was better because I was lighter. You know, like I said, I was teased within my family. I know they loved me, but it was just jokes, right? Because I'm the lightest complected person in the family. So it was just always jokes around my way, but it was never, you're better than anybody because your eyes are a different color, or your hair is this length, or your skin is this bright. She never said that to me. I'm black, we all black, and we all the same. And that's putting it nicely coming from Yvonne, but it was in a loving way, right? So I don't get it. How people think they're better because their skin is a different complexion.
Right. Thank you for sharing. I'm gonna move us into our second set of questions. And my first question is, how has colorism affected your career?
It's funny because I never really knew I experienced it until you asked me these questions.
Mm-hmm.
And just thinking back, the longest place I worked at was City and County of San Francisco for 13 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very diverse place. You from San Francisco, you love San Francisco, so you know the big melting pot that is, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but even working there with it being that diverse, I experienced a lot of it
Mm-hmm.
there. Just from things like, can I touch your hair? Why your hair doesn't look like this? Why doesn't it look like this other Black person? Or you don't look like I don't want to be mean, but you don't look like, how Black people usually look. And I'm like, the person I am now, I probably would have been fired because I probably would have cursed them out for saying something like that. But you just learn to laugh it off. And like, I would, I'm sarcastic. So I said something back, but it's just the things that go through others' minds and they feel it's okay to say that. And then when you have other people working with you who are different shades of brown, they start to feel this different kind of way because people are always telling you, oh, well, how come you don't look like them? And, oh, your eyes are so pretty, or, you could wear this color, just silly things that they feel it's okay to say. And so I feel it affected me, especially if there was other Black women working there at the time, because again, like kind of took me back to being in the 5th grade again. I always have to prove who I am. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like they were trying to disrupt my work piece, I guess, just because I didn't let things bother me, but they were bothered by my presence, by what others were saying about me. But it wasn't me walking around like I'm better because I'm the token Black person. Like, no, I don't like people saying that's stupid. So I feel it just made it again tense. So it just made the environment tense at times.
Yeah, I recall calling you at work often. And when it would be new groups of people starting, mm-hmm. and it would always be a few weeks in there where mm-hmm. here comes the drama, and mm-hmm. then I guess they weed themselves out, and then the ones would stay, and then eventually the other ones would be cordial and just learn to do whatever. But it would be a trip because I watched you over the course of 15 years, mm-hmm. go through that with groups of people. It was always at least one, mm-hmm. that had an issue, and it's interesting. It's just interesting to see, like, if anybody else noticed that, like your supervisor, like from a leadership role.
And let's also back up and say that the manager was Black. Mm-hmm. She's a Black woman. So she would see it, and it would be hard for her to interject at times because I was close with her. Mm-hmm. So it became more, and I think that was another problem. So it was like I was the teacher's pet per se, because I lunched with the manager and her, what would Alyssa be, our supervisor. I used to lunch with them. I was invited to her. We were all invited to her house for other things, but it was a friendship formed there from working. So that could have also brought more, animosity or tense to the situation. I don't know, but she would see it and she would let it play out as far as it could go. Then she knew me, and it was like they would just push and push. They wanted a reaction out of me. So it just would take me back to school because that's what it was like. Because they would try to get cliques and form cliques, and they would whisper and roll eyes about me, and we grown women. And we're all there to earn a wage, but I don't know. It was weird. And we'd have to be pulled to the back and then talk, and I'd have to get unpleasant because they would take me there, but it was behind closed doors, and it would just be 3 women. It'd be my manager, me, and whoever the problem was with, right? And we would address it, and we would never be buddies, but I think it would just be a respect for one another. We're here to work, and let's just keep it cordial. But they would test you. Yeah. Again, like school.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I was thinking about when you said all that, you know, people be like, oh, she being over dramatic. Don't know, ain't nobody doing nothing to you. And the cold part is, I remember, and this has happened throughout our whole friendship, right? Where we will be somewhere, somebody will come in, they may see me, and of course I'm a smiler, y'all, so I'm always grinning. And I smile, and they may give a smirk, and they look at her and will frown, cut their eyes, and turn their head. And when I think about the motorcycle sets, like when I didn't go that much. Don't be putting it out there like I went like that, because I don't be in
you brought it up.
But I don't be in them streets. But I have went a few on occasion because this is when Grandpa was alive, so in honor of Grandpa. But however, to sit there, and I don't mean 1 or 2. I mean damn near everybody that walked past unless we knew them. And then even the ones you knew is kind of shady, because you know they be having their little agendas and dilemmas and things going on too, you know? So it's interesting. I just think like in every setting that you have experienced colorism. I don't think there is a setting you haven't.
No, and again, that's my hard exterior, because it's just, I always have to prove I'm nice, or I have to prove I'm cool, or I'm okay. And it's like, why? We don't even know each other. Just come in and how are you? Hi. And it's okay. Not everybody will get along with each other. And that has nothing to do with your skin tone, right? Just people don't judge one another, right?
That spirit is all.
But they just come in and they'll stare, and don't let alcohol or anything be involved, because that just intensifies it. And
who's the rule? Unless it's your event, 45 minutes after they start drinking, hit the door. I came, I saw, I left.
Because it just is too, and it's sad that it still goes on at this age.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's may even be getting worse. Because like you said, when you're in a setting and there's other women and there's men, and you know, there's always more women than there is men. So that already makes it a
party, huh?
Yeah. So I don't know. That's why I just stay to myself. I don't move around. People can't say I was in no man's face, none of that, because I don't want to. There's already animosity there for some reason, so I don't want to give them a reason.
Well, you know, trauma reason. And I'm gonna leave. That's another episode we're gonna have but I'm gonna leave this alone. I would love for you to share a specific memory where you experienced colorism in the workplace. So you don't have to say names, but just something that just went down and it was just clear as day. That's what was happening. And while you ponder that, let me share this. I thought about the other day when you said, didn't they send Aiden something in the Latino group?
Yeah, that's what we brought. That's why we brought it up. They started to send him something regarding the Latino. Well, remember, I got those emails from that place. So why did we get those?
Right. So here we go again. Your son, it's that same cycle of colorism happening with your son in the school.
And that's because they're looking at me. But I don't even look biracial.
You don't even be saying hola.
No, so I don't understand it.
Okay.
I mean, Rika, it's hard for me to pinpoint, because you know why it's happening.
Right, because it's implied. It's not explicit. It's implied, most of it.
Right. And And it's this one specific time where a group of people had started, and she was from the city, and she was darker skin tone. And first, and let me back up by, I had a lot of interaction with the new hires because I trained them.
Mhm.
So I think that she already didn't like me because of that. She didn't want me to be, I guess she felt like an authority figure over her. I don't know. It was weird. So even for me just trying to build, you know how when you start a new job and the person who's training you, you're usually friendly with them because that's your first point of contact. Like I never clicked with her. She was standoffish and mean and mumbling stuff under her breath from that. Then she made it about her kids selling a fundraiser thing, and I talked some people out of it or something, and that did not even occur. And she was ready like to really get physically go to blows. And that's when management had to step in. But I know that that was the reason. There was no other reason for her to dislike me. I mean, and if she didn't like me, that was fine, but it was no reason to want to get into a physical altercation at work. I mean, over what? Over what reason?
What Ashley say her trauma was showing, huh?
Right. And it even had got to the point where when we were outside issuing ballots at the early voting counter, she was, I guess you could say, quote unquote, hooking her friends up because she was allowing them to bypass the line.
Mm-hmm.
And when I didn't intervene knowing that that's what she was doing. I intervened knowing that they had cut the line because other people had told me that they've been waiting 2 hours and these people just come up and get their stuff, whatever. So when I asked them, they said, oh yeah, she told us we could come up here. They were actually coming there asking for her because she was telling them to bypass the line. So then that became a problem because she felt like I was a know-it-all or a kiss ass and I was, blah, 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 when I was just
all the rules, huh?
Right. It was just really weird, but it was no other reason for her to dislike me unless she knew me from somewhere. And I think that was the most serious one because it really was going to get to, like, I was going to call you.
No, I think you was calling me to lead up to that.
No, I mean, like, to come up there. Like, it was getting that serious.
Where was I working at the school?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know how to take a lunch break. Okay. Next question. How can workspaces be more inclusive and accepting of all races, ethnicities, and shades of skin?
That wasn't in the question.
Yeah, well, you must have skipped over it, but we can talk about it because I think just some of the things, I think I'm gonna try to answer it, but then we can dialogue after that. I think that it really speaks to the leader. The leader ought to know. Listen, you don't have to micromanage, but you can know if you check in regularly with your team, you'll know when somebody didn't brush their teeth this morning. I'm just saying things, right? The little things that help you make a team work, right? But
I think only you would know that, Rika.
You know what? If they didn't brush their teeth, I'll be talking to them from the side, like see you in a bit. Okay, but no, but I'm just saying, like, even the leader, in order for your team to work like a well-oiled machine, you have to know your people. You have to know their strengths, their gifts, their talents, the shifts that irk them, what's going on in their families. That way, if you got deadlines to meet, I know how to shift that work around to give it to who, we can get it done. And even if we don't like each other, we're cordial enough to work together and there's no real issues happening. But that's leadership to me. That's what it sounds like. Not every group. That's because y'all hire. I know you have a quota to meet. You get what I'm saying? But at the same time, you got to develop the person, the character and the personality too, the work ethic. People
in a normal work environment, I would say that yes, but it to their defense, it was high turnover. A lot of large groups, depending on the how big the election was. But so there was no way to like form these relationships or bonds, with everybody, because sometimes it'd be 50 people in one little room. So
Kobe, y'all would have got it.
Right. And I just think, managers or leaders feel like we're all adults. You know, like it's not, they're not working with youth. It's not like youth development. Like everybody there was grown women, like had kids in high school and stuff. You like, come on. So I don't know why it's that way, but I've always experienced it. And you know, it's been times like when it's happened, and I'll even reflect with you. And I think for a while, it was hard for you to believe that that's why women were just so mean to me. Mm-hmm. Remember, I'd be like, Rika, am I tripping? And you'd be like, no. But I mean, you didn't want to just be like, they just don't like you. It was hard for you because you're a Black woman.
Right. And you know what? What's interesting is when we went to the little cousin's graduation party, mm-hmm. and them women, we went in that room. Remember, mm-hmm. them women didn't even want to speak to us, and they was doing all like that.
Right.
I don't want to, but I'm just saying.
But instead of just, because of the type of event that we were all there for, you knew that we had to know the graduate in some way, shape, or form, whether it was through her parents or whatever, right? So it should have been more welcoming if you love the graduate, right? So hi, are you here for so-and-so? Oh, hey, yeah, they haven't got here yet, or blah, 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 whatever. It was just like, so that's what I'm used to. So I feel like sometimes I have to give it back.
Mm-hmm. Well, how do you give it back?
I mean, with the looks, come on, you've been around me, I give looks, I blink eyes, but some stuff I'm not even aware that I'm doing it. So I guess you give what you get. Mm-hmm. So if I'm getting pleasant, then I give pleasant. I'm not, like I said, I'm not mean. It's just it's the exterior. It's just people are, I always have to be, maybe I have to now prove I'm nice, prove I'm approachable. I've been told that I don't look like I'm approachable.
Well, because they be having angles though. What be they angle? So you got, I don't know about that. I don't know if you should take all the armor off, because see, people be, Okay, I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm moving us into the third set of questions. Mm-hmm. In your opinion, why do you think colorism is such a big problem in this country?
Because it's just not this country, it's all over the world. Mm-hmm. It's hot. I mean, in certain parts of Africa, they sell out of bleaching cream there. I was reading that like a couple months ago, where we're taught that Africa is the motherland and Black is beautiful and everything there is Black and beautiful, and that's where we're from. But you have them not unhappy with themselves, wanting to bleach, lighten their skin. So it's just all over. And it goes back to, like I said, when I started working in San Francisco, just the things that they think it's okay to say about our hair being different than theirs. But why isn't their hair different than mine? Why can't I go touch other people's hair and say, why does it feel this way? Why do you look this way? Why are we made to be different? Right. And so that's what you would feel like when you would start a new job or new school, and it's people, and there's not a lot of other Black people there. They'll ask you silliest questions, and I'm like, do they think before they say that type of stuff? Like, can you wet your hair and stuff like that? Like, what do you mean, can I wet my hair? Like just the silly. So it's going to be a problem as long as people just don't accept people for being who they are, instead of always trying to point out the differences in one another. Right. And some differences are better than the other. Like we've been taught straight hair is better than kinky hair. Right. Well, to who's it better to? Mm-hmm. So I just, it'll never, it's a big problem, because first they recognize you by color, right? Then by social status or how much money you have. So color is a big part of who you are. Mm-hmm. And that could be good or bad, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting, because when I think about someone like when I just think about your experience, right? Mm-hmm. people would think you get all these benefits, but then it's like then the black people be acting funny with you because yo, you think you like you said, white girl acting black. Then the white people still they still let you know you black. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's interesting to think about kind of what you said and what you have to hold, you know,
Mhm.
each day and when you're in these spaces and like say if I say I'm going to the bikers ball, whatever it is y'all going to. I'm trying to get. Hopefully, your viewers will subscribe. I mean, all y'all friends on the set because I've been mentioning
I
them.
am not a part of those
I
set.
know you were part of the set, but your old man was. Okay, but
You always have to do your little stuff.
I know what was I saying.
I don't know. That's what you get.
All right, moving us right along. That's what happens when we stay on the phone too long. How do we work? How do we work to solve this problem? What are some things you think we can start at least trying to solve?
like
And
I said, like I said, it's a really big problem, and it's been here for so long that I don't think we could. It's not going to go away. What you have to do is just love yourself, right? So that's what I teach Aiden. That's what I teach Aiden. Like not everybody's not gonna like. Somebody may not like you because your hair is cut this way, or because you have on blue pants today. So you just have to love yourself and just love the person too. Find a way to love the person that's saying the colorist things to you or treating you different because you look different than them.
Mm-hmm. Use it as a teaching moment too, because sometimes
Yeah.
they learn those, especially at Aiden's age. You know, they've learned those behaviors from home, but he can teach them something. And so, I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad that you are having these conversations with your son because you know, like you said, it's not going nowhere. So you know you got to deal with it. What is one way that you are working to counteract this issue?
I don't know. What do you think? You're the only friend I have. What do you think? What do you see me doing?
Yeah,
Well, I see you have. So one way is that you have been transparent today about it and shared your story. So one, I'm sharing my voice, sharing my story, letting other people know because here's the thing: it's been a lot of colorism talk lately, and you always see it from dark to light. And so getting that light to dark perspective, I think, is important too, because I think it's not okay for anybody to have to experience it.
No.
And so one, you're sharing your story. Two, I'm gonna have a recommendation when I send you your thank you letter. Podcast time. Seriously, to talk about it and maybe even something develops around it because you will have a lot of guests. You could have, I mean, we'll talk offline, but I just think that that is another way that you could be it impacts our young ladies in ways, man. It stagnates their growth too, you know? Because they're afraid, the confidence is gone, self-esteem is shot, because all of these people is like, fuck, excuse my language, messing with them for no reason, you know, for their own issues. Like, go work on your trauma. But anyway, now moving us into our final set of questions. Share anything you're doing to help others.
I'm always helping others.
Like, so share something.
I lend my ear most of the time. I lend my ear. I lend my life experiences and my knowledge to help people, especially during this past year with the pandemic going on.
Sounds like coaching is in your future, huh?
Try to connect people with the appropriate resources for them. So lending a helping hand. If I know something, just tell a friend, tell somebody. Yeah. Okay, sit down. She's looking down. Does she see that?
I know she's looking down, mommy.
Look at y'all. Let me introduce the man of the hour. The Reverend A.L. Jordan. No, just joking. Aiden Lamar. What's up, Aiden Lamar?
Nothing.
What you been up to?
Oh, nothing. Just school.
What's on the horizon?
Hmm?
Huh?
What you got coming up? What's coming up? Tell the people what you got coming up tomorrow.
Tomorrow I'm going to Lake Tahoe.
Uh-oh, what you gonna do in Tahoe?
Playing snow.
Play in the snow. You know how to ski?
What did you learn? How to do?
I didn't have to ski.
Snowboard?
Yeah, snowboard.
That's what's up. I like that. Thanks for stopping by. Give us like 10 more minutes. We gotta finish up. Bye-bye.
Say bye-bye. You made your guest appearance. Okay.
I wanted to talk too. I know at Christmas time and Thanksgiving, your business gave away a raffle prize, a whole dinner kit and some gift cards, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Just and so in a minute, I'm going to have you share a little bit about your business. But have you taken any action to advocate for ending colorism?
Not, I wouldn't say it's action. Like you said, I'm starting to speak out more about it. So even when I'm reading it in blogs or things, when I'm online, I interact more with others who are telling it from their point of view, more so because it's always, how come light skinned is always portrayed in roles on television and things like that, right? And so I'm just starting to interact more and just voice my opinion and let people know, like, you can't, because sometimes what happens with that is, I'm not saying that people aren't chosen for certain things because their skin tone is different. I'm not silly. I know that happens, right? But in that, what happens in that is that the ones that are doing that are trying to be outspoken and speak up for their rights, they'll start to bash the woman who was chosen for a particular role, and she's innocent in this, right? She didn't like paint her skin that color, or she is an actor or an actress, and so she was chosen. So then that's what ends up happening, and then they start to bash lighter complected women because they are chosen for roles or because people are rapping about them in songs. So I think what all I can do is just keep trying to be a voice for what I represent, and to let them know that I don't think that way. And like I said, I can only speak for myself, and I know that I don't feel that I'm better than anybody because of my skin color. And I don't feel it's ever gotten me any advantages. If I'm wrong, you could correct me on that, but I don't feel that it has gotten me any.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your authentic truth today too. I mean, it takes a lot of sometimes courage when you first start sharing and get more comfortable, but it helps to bring clarity. It helps you to start to think about what you're going to do next. How am I going to further my commitment in this in what I represent? So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about your business endeavors. Let the world know who you are in the business world.
Well, it's funny you say that because I started in August of 2011. Mm-hmm. So my 10-year anniversary is coming up. I was cleaning out my papers and my seller's permit and stuff, and I looked at the date, and I'm just really, I haven't found who I am yet in this entrepreneur world, because there's still a hunger there. And that's what I've been working on over this past year, of how I'm going to feed it, because there's something in me and I got big things coming. So I've started out making earrings and jewelry, which a lot of Rika supported me, and a lot of other people that are probably going to tune in and listen to this. And so pretty much I've just been reselling, not so much consignment things, but I'm a shopaholic. So I buy a lot, I resell things. I know what's popular, what's trending. So I try to get things that are hot items, resell them. But I'm working on opening up a clothing. I don't want to call it a boutique, a clothing store.
Mhm.
I'm trying to decide if I want to do a storefront or just keep it online. So, but it's something we'll be launching for my 10-year anniversary. So I've been working very hard on that. Kind of nervous, but be on the lookout.
When you put it out there now, ain't no turning back. Once that ball get the rolling, though, it all just starts coming together. So just stay committed and dedicated.
But what's made me kind of leery of doing it is how I will be accepted by the community. So that's why another reason why when I was, this always comes up whenever we're discussing colorism, and I always advocate for my side, right? Because that's all I know how to be is. And so you'll be like, well, why do you feel this way? So we've discussed this before, and it's made me leery of really jumping into business because I don't know if I'll be accepted, but I have to just quit being scared and just, there's a lot of people out there and somebody will like me, somebody will support me. And even if I fail, I tried.
You got an audience waiting on you because you got it. Like you said, it's all this, you got a hunger inside all this stuff from all these years and all these experiences and all these tools and all these strengths and all these things you have, right? They just moving around. They starting to come together and get that synergy. And so just stay dedicated because you got it. And don't worry about, that's the devil telling you to worry about, will you be accepted? The ones that won't accept you, you don't want that money anyway. That's fear money. You don't want that. Seriously. You got some genuine friends that are, darker than you, all different shades. So I just feel like, don't allow that to creep into your mind because that's what keeps us in stagnation.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, it's a market out there waiting on Erica Cookie. Yeah, she pushing a hard line.
Glasses. Glasses.
So, Erica, I just thank you so much for coming on and sharing a little bit of your story. I just want the viewers to know you will be back on another topic. I don't know what that is yet, and hopefully we'll be able to collaborate on some projects. I want to lift up a couple of the pearls that I heard you say throughout the conversation. Just a few things were lending a helping hand. We don't see that a lot. And everybody is saying how, the pandemic has hurt us all, but we're still privileged in a lot of ways. So I like that, even with the struggle time, we're able to lend and help others in need. I also heard you say, if I know something, tell someone. Why is we hoarding the information and all, man, get that information out. It's for everybody. I love that you brought that up. Also, research to ground yourself in the issue. I hear you all the time. You telling me, oh, I read this article, I read this blog, I seen this thing. And that's you getting more grounded in colorism so that when you are in spaces and you are on panels, because it's coming, you will be able to talk about it with a knowledge and with the authority and expertise of all the rest of these people, because you know it firsthand. Also, give your time, talent, and treasure. I have been in text messages with you when you've been on the phone with the cousins and everybody else for hours, triaging situations, always helping somebody last minute on how to pick pinky and all the rest of them, outfits and the rest of that stuff, right? And then just your treasure, always helping somebody in need, giving a few dollars. I think that's really important because that's how good stuff keep coming and keep flowing. Even though the bad gonna happen, good stuff is also in there. And then lastly, be a voice for what you represent. Like that is key. You gotta say it loud. I don't care if I stick with 55 subscribers on YouTube. Okay? I'm gonna be a voice for what I represent. I will not change who I am. I will not water down my brand. I am who I am. You will do the same. You get it? This is what I'm talking about. So those were my pearls. I really love this episode. If there's one last tip, piece of advice that you would like to share with the viewers. The last voice they hear will be yours.
Just be real, be yourself, but also be accountable for things that you do. So like in this last, I'm not aware that I've ever made anybody uncomfortable or feel different because of the color of their skin. And so if I have, you can make me aware of that. And I apologize to you if I have. And that's it.